Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Great. I can just see a few people coming into the room here, so just really wait for them to come on through. Looks good to me. Okay, hi. Yep, thanks. Not bad. Yeah, it's been a beautiful day. It's been a lovely day here in the UK. Anyway, listen, it's Tuesday, 4th October. It's 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. in the UK. Good afternoon. Let me just get the legal bit out of the way first. This webinar is for information and education only. Nothing said, not said or implied is a solicitation to buy, sell, trade or not trade in any vehicle whatsoever. Please note that I am not a registered financial advisor. Great, got that out of the way. Well, listen, thank you very much for taking the time to join me. I don't want to go on for too long or take up too much of your time. So what I'm going to do is to briefly introduce myself, and then we'll go and look at a few charts. And what I'll do is I'll try to show how the methodology that I use can make them readable and accessible to anybody. And then finally, I'm going to talk briefly about my new website, which is now up and running. First of all, a few words about me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ben Drage, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm British and I'm based in the UK. A little bit about my background: I read law at Oxford University and then did my bar finals exams before starting work in the early 80s in the City of London in the money markets. And I spent from 1982 to 1998 there in various boutique firms specialising in the nascent interest rate swap market. Then in 1998, I decided to leave in order to concentrate on my personal trading. And that is pretty much what I've been doing since then. I've just noticed there are a couple of questions coming in. Can I just say, can we leave those until the end? Because I'm not the most technically adept when it comes to these webinars. I hope you don't mind. Okay, thank you. Right, well, look, let's have a look at a few charts and let's see what I mean when I talk about decoding the markets. Because in very simple terms, traders and investors look at charts in order to establish likely areas of support and resistance. In front of you is the Forex Daily, which has been moving up very, very nicely today indeed. It really has been going very well. I assume that it makes sense to most people because in looking at it, what you can do is you can see where the various supports are, you can see where the various resistances are. And in short, it's the kind of chart that you could probably trade with a reasonable amount of confidence. And the reason for that is because you can actually see the pattern in the chart. You can see what's going on. Our brains are wired to respond to patterns. So when we see the pattern, when it makes sense to us, we feel comfortable with it. Anyway, what I want to do, I'm just going to take this back to a bare chart. And this is exactly the same. This is the FTSE 100, but without any additions on it. And to me, it's not as easy to really work out supports and resistances and so forth. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a median line, which is a pitchfork, go from a low to a high and down to a low again, and just really try to establish some kind of framework, some kind of context for what we're actually seeing. But it's not just the pitchfork that we can do. What we can do is we can go inside it. We can draw lines inside, still in the angle of the fork. That's a sliding parallel across there. Got another one down at the bottom, and one up here at the top. You see, all that we're doing is we're looking to establish areas in the angle of the fork where we get support, areas where we get resistance, and one of the most important things, where we get resistance turning into support. Like that. I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you. All I'm really doing is just giving context or framework to the movement of price. There's nothing magical about the pitchfork, the median line. All it's doing is putting price in a structure within which you can look for high probability areas of support and resistance. So let's say it once again, whether you're actually a newbie or whether you're a seasoned professional, when you can see the pattern in a chart, you can trade that chart with much more confidence. Great, you're probably sick of looking at FTSE. I'm going to move on from there. We'll go and have a look at something we've been looking at the members have been looking at recently. This is sugar futures, SB. And here I've started off without any lines on the chart at all, really just to show the kind of thinking that we look to use. And I guess that most people looking at this chart would probably, first of all try and draw a line, maybe across the bottom, maybe try and link up what we've got here. Let's extend that. Does that really make much sense? Not so much to me. Instead, I look at it slightly differently. Remember, we're looking at median line analysis. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from a low up to a line like that and extend it once more. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that in a couple of places, just like that. Does that begin to make a little bit more sense? We're beginning to see support and resistance in the line of the fork. But the great thing about pitchforks is we don't have to draw that median line to begin with. What we can do is we can just take our pitchfork tool and go from a low to a high, down to a low again, and automatically the pitchfork is there for us. And to my mind, very immediately, it all becomes clear. Everything that you're looking at makes much more sense. Okay, and this is something that we've actually been following recently in the analysis. We can just put a little sliding parallel across there if you want, sliding parallel there, and actually the most important one we've recently. I'll get to that in a minute. Let me just talk about validation of the pitchfork. What we're looking to see that we have defined the line of price, the way price is moving. So when we get a touch at the lower parallel, when we move up, when we see something along the median line, and particularly here when we get all this action along the quartile. Do you see the quartile being the midway price between the median line and the lower parallel? And I think it was a few days ago, just before we started seeing all this action along here. Hang on a second, let me try and... There you go. All these little lines of support along the quartile. We started seeing those, and I said to members, watch out to see if we don't push up, if we don't see a solid move up. As long as the quartile remains support, we could move strongly to the upside. And that's precisely what happened. We saw a move all the way from this line down here, around about 20.00. We've been up to a high of 24.10. I mean, that's a massive move for something like sugar. But we don't leave it at that. We keep adding to what we're seeing. We keep adding to the picture that we have. One line, for example, we've been looking at is a line off this high here. And what I was saying in analysis this morning to people was, look, if we come down from the resistance along this sliding parallel here, and in fact what you could do is you could just even make that a little bit more precise. You see, look, absolutely in the line of the fork. If we start moving down from this high here, have a look and see if this high, the resistance there, turns into support here and here. And that is precisely what has happened. Very, very precise action there. So that, again, just gives you an idea, going from absolutely nothing, to take this away entirely, going from absolutely nothing to giving yourself a fairly good chance of finding out what supports and resistances are. And when you can see these supports and resistances, then that is when you can really start to trade something with a bit more confidence. Now, what we've looked at the moment is something just with a solid trend. I mean, this is going bottom left to top right. What I want to go and do is look at something different where we've got a change of trend. And this is XLE. It's the energy ETF. I don't know if anybody trades that in particular. Not getting a lot of answers. Okay, not to worry. Let me just show you what I mean here. We were in a downtrend from 2014 all the way through 2014, all the way through 2015. And what we're looking at is supports and resistances. And I think it's fairly obvious here. We've got resistances along the upper parallel of the fork here, and then out at the quartile, and then down at the upper parallel again. But the thing that I liked about this was the way that support started stepping up. And support, again, we're talking in terms of the fork. Support here was below the median line of the fork, down here. At this point, it was bang on the median line of the fork. And if we go in a bit tighter, just here, it was a bit above the median line. So what we're doing is we're beginning to think, okay, this is telling us that support, even though price is moving to the downside, we're beginning to turn out of the fork. We're beginning to change this downtrend into a sideways and maybe even an uptrend. So again, when we see resistance starting to give way, and in this case, looking at the upper parallel resistance there, popped above it, then we were down beneath it again, and then resistance there again. When we start seeing this move to the upside, we see price breaking away. All we do is we draw a sliding parallel to the upside. A sliding parallel. We draw a pitchfork, low to high to low again. And all of a sudden, I hope that begins to make sense to you. And again, we can add to this. We can add a little bit of detail, something to tell us that this is actually working. We've got a sliding parallel. Support is there. Support is there. Just underneath the median line as well. You can see support, 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 support. And resistance. It's just beneath the quartile, at the quartile, pretty much at the quartile. And again, in the last few days, we've been looking at this move up. Again, I've been posting this into members' chat pages and just saying, look, watch what happens. Watch what happens here. Price came down just through the median line, found support on the sliding parallel here. Pretty exactly. Started moving to the upside. And then once we started seeing support here along the median line once more, you could be pretty certain that price was going to be pushing to the upside. So that's what I mean about trying to find something which is high probability, low risk entry or an exit. I'm just going to put this on hold for 1 second while I have a slurp of water. Great, I'm back with you. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over and look at a currency. I'm going to go and look at Kiwi CAD. I think quite a lot of people have been talking about this recently. Certainly some of the on Twitter there's been quite a lot of noise about people have been talking about head and shoulders top here. Shoulder, head, shoulder, and basically a pretty obvious neckline there. Yeah? But again, this is something using this is a weekly chart, by the way. Should have said that. Using a pitchfork, we can get an awful lot more information, a lot more nuance out of what's happening. So again, I'm going to draw median line, pitchfork, low, high, and low down here. And I hope pretty much immediately you're beginning to look at things, beginning to think like I am, and say, hang on a second, we're beginning to see a bit of a pattern here. If we look up here, you've got a sliding parallel resistance. If we go across here, maybe, resistance again. Across here, support, almost support, 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 all the way through support. Most importantly, down here, even though we're underneath the lower parallel of the fork, even though we're underneath the main body of the fork, we're still running in the angle of the fork. So I know a lot of people have been talking about, a breakout up here, 96. If you're looking at median line analysis, if you're looking at pitchforks, you're going to be talking about a breakout from down here at 87, not 96. 87, and this is only a small part of the move that we've seen. I mean, if you take this all the way back, you'd be reasonably confident round about here, I guess, back in 2012, that this was a market moving to the upside. Round about 75. The lowest we got was 82 here, up at 97 already. So I hope maybe that just shows the benefit of putting the pitchfork in. Again, I'm just going to take the lines out and just show you how difficult it really is without the pitchfork. Putting it back in again, there it is. We're putting things in context. We're giving reason, we're giving a framework in which you can make your trades. Just want to go on from there. I want to go and have a look at Kiwi CAD, but on a different time frame, because obviously we go across and look numerous time frames. That was the weekly chart. This is Kiwi CAD again on a 240-minute chart, 4-hour chart. And again, just following this, we can see what is going on. It's just giving us the nuances about what's happening. Price found support near the lower parallel, we start thinking, yeah, maybe this is working. You've got resistance at the median line here. You've got spike support here. You've got the action along the sliding parallel across here. You know, it's telling us, it's giving us information that this fork is working. This median line is correctly describing the direction of price. So what do I mean about looking across? Well, look, this is the 240-minute chart. When people were talking about the breakout, this was up here. You know, they were getting long at 96, 97. Well, to us, looking at median lines, this was a likely area of resistance. This is not an area to get long. Okay? This was an area that we're likely to reject from and come back down. And in fact, we have. We've rejected from 97.40. I think the lowest we've been down to is 94.50. So, you know, 300 basis points. That's quite a long way. What are we looking at the moment? Well, just keep an eye, seeing what happens with this sliding parallel here. We've had support. We've had support. 1, 2, 3. You know, we're still getting support there. We're going to look to see if we get a move up from here. If we do find a move up from here, are we going to find support maybe along the quartile? That means, or is that going to mean we're going to follow it up? Are we going to get above the median, the upper parallel here that was last resistance? Can we push up to around about 97.80 or so, which was sliding parallel resistance again? Okay. Using this in consort with what we're seeing up on the weekly charts is a great way to find your way into a trade as well. But please note what I said right at the beginning. I'm not advocating going long, going short of anything at all. This is purely for information and education. Okay? Right. Going to go on from there. I'm going to go over and look at another commodity, oil, which I think we've been following pretty regularly. I don't know, most of you guys I guess know me from Twitter, and I've been posting quite a few oil charts. Just want to go through it in a little bit more detail here. This is CL oil futures on a daily chart, and I've been watching this for quite some time. I mean, the service has only been going a few weeks, but just in my personal capacity, I've been watching this for quite a while. Got interested. I mean, I draw charts all the time, so I really got interested when I saw these back here in early 2015. Okay, watched price move from the upper parallel all the way down. Where do I find support? The lower parallel. This immediately has me looking at this chart and pretty interested in it. Just one thing I want to show you that I was also looking at as we moved down. Used an ABCD formation. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. AB equals CD. And look at that. Found the bottom absolutely perfectly. I mean, you could not get much closer than that. But that's just by the wayside. Okay. Having hit that bottom, the expectation was price was going to move to the upside, and that is exactly what we've seen since January this year. Price has just been moving constantly to the upside. But what I've been doing is I've been using the fork. I've been using the supports and the resistances to give me an indication, to give me a nuance, to tell me which way price is moving. So for example, from this low down here, price steps up. We start finding a bit of support here. We then move all the way up to here. Whoops, what have I done? Excuse me. Okay, price moves back up to here. I put the sliding parallel in place. Great, I'm back to where we are. Let me start again on this. Price moves up from here to this sliding parallel across here. Resistance, resistance becomes support, support. That tells me price is moving to the upside. There's one other sliding parallel that we had that also I just got rid of for the time being. But look, resistance there, resistance across there, resistance becomes support there, little quite subtle, but there we see it, and then support again here. And this is giving me nuance. This is telling me that we're stepping up, that resistances are becoming support. When that happens, that's bullish. So as price moves up, where do I expect to see resistance? Well, upper parallel, that's where we saw it before. Look what happened. We moved all the way from down here, I think it was 29 or something, 26.10. We move all the way up, and we get this within 50 cents or so of the high. Pretty good, pretty good. Price starts to find resistance here 2 or 3 times, starts to move down again, but again, instead of moving all the way from here right down to the bottom of the fork, it's stronger than that, so it only falls as far as here, the sliding parallel. Prior resistance becomes support, becomes support. So all I did at that point was I drew in a fork from the low, and if I remember properly, it was an Andrews fork like this, and all I did was look to see what was happening. Okay, so having found that, we pushed up, we hit resistance at the upper parallel once more, price started dropping away again, and that just led me to think maybe just play around with the fork a little bit. And I changed it into what's called a modified shift, and the fact that it hit the median line bang on and fell away really made me think that this was the fork that was going to be working for me. Okay, so we followed it down, we followed what was happening, it moved all the way down slowly but surely, and it touched the lower parallel. And if you look at this, I mean, that is almost to the cent. That is very, very, very exact. It also at the same time found support along the red quartile. Look at that, resistance there, support across there, then we fell through it. When we came back down, support there, and support once here, once more. So everything is telling me, everything is shouting out to me, we're moving to the upside, we're going higher. So lo and behold, what happens? Up we go, we start pushing higher. What I did was I drew this sliding parallel from this low, because it's a strong bar. And by a strong bar, I mean a big bar closing at the highs. That tells me that there's a launch, there's something launching from this kind of area. So in the line of the fork, all I did was just copy this fork, this line through, and lo and behold, back here in September, up we go again, another launch, and we're pushing up through the resistance that we previously found, which was the red upper parallel here. And I was using that. As well as that, I was also looking at the 240-minute chart. Let me just switch over to that again. These are different forks, okay? The lines are different, but they just work on the 240-minute chart. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go through it in too much detail. Just seeing the stepping up from the lows here, right down at the outer, the warning line, up to the fork, support there. Then we get support at the median line. We push all the way up. When we come back down, instead of coming back down to the median line, we start finding support at the quartile, up again, then we start finding support along here. So all the time, support is pushing higher, and price needs room to vibrate. So when support pushes up, you tend to find resistance moving away. And then again, this is what we found here. Support at the median line, support at the upper parallel here, the red upper parallel. It pushes up, we start finding support pushing up and up and up. And as it did that, all I did was I saw an A, a B, a C, drew in a fork to the upside and started to look to see what I could find. And again, there's a low here, so I drew a line off it. Once more, we got a bit of a launch. 2 very strong days, took us through the resistance, which is this green sliding parallel here. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment. I'm seeing the blue fork working. I've got a line in the line of the fork, which is resistance. I've got probably a line in the fork here, which is support. The reason I say that is because we've got resistance here, becomes support, becomes support. So this is the channel I'm now looking at. If price moves up further, if it goes above this green sliding parallel, if it finds support there, that means it's bullish. We're going to be moving it higher. If it comes down, I'm going to be looking to see if we find support along this line. If it moves beneath this line and then comes up and tags it, and that provides resistance, then I'm going to assume price is going to move to the downside. All we're doing is we're constantly adjusting as we go along. We're adapting the charts. We're trying to make the lines sing to us. Hope that's not too poetic. Somebody says yes, it is. Okay, great. Give me a sec, guys. Gonna have another slurp of water. Okay, I'm back with you again. Sorry about that. Right, I'm just going to go and look at one more chart, which is the Dow. We've been looking at this again a few times. I've been posting this. Right, this is the Dow on a daily, and pretty much I guess this is how most people would look at it. You can be running a high from the high back in May. When was that? 2015. Yeah, May 2015. Probably running horizontal off those lows and just watching what's happening. And price is generally moving to the upside. A bit of a breakout here, bit of a break under. You know, above the line we're bullish, below the line we're bearish. I think that's the kind of thing people tend to think about. But I just want to draw attention to one thing, and that's that little circle there. Okay, why did we move up from there? And just very simply, by drawing a median line, I think I can show you. Again, I'm going from a low to a high, down to a low again. And you can see, you're probably looking at this here, but before that, have a look at that. We moved up, we hit the median line absolutely perfectly, we came down, we hit the lower parallel, and we started moving up again. And incidentally, where are we at the moment? Just about, and looking at market at the moment, just about clinging onto that lower parallel. Okay, but we can do a bit more than that. We can get a bit more nuance. What we can do is use the sliding parallels once more. I mean, if you remember what I was saying, price had the power to reach the median line here, came back down. It hasn't got up as high again. If this price was feeling as strong, it would be up here around about 18,600 or so, be touching the median line there. Fact it isn't, means what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a sliding parallel across there, and you can see that that is effectively resistance across here. We hit the lower parallel, we came back up, and it was resistance once more across here. Even though a lot of people are saying, oh, we're above the horizontal here. There's that line. We're above the horizontal. To me, we've actually got lowered resistance. Resistance has lowered from there down to this line. Okay, instead of being up at this line here, we're lower. And this has happened again and again with the Dow. This is what's been worrying us a little bit. It can work the other way as well. I'm going to take the sliding parallel. I'm just going to copy it off this low here. And just look what we got. Sorry about all the bouncing around, Ensign, it's playing up a little bit. Look what we got here. You've got support, a bit more support here, very subtle bit of support there. And then if I go in tighter, you can see that that support has turned into resistance. And when support becomes resistance, that's bearish. Okay, and this is what I've also been talking to people about, talking to the members about, hammering on to them about, look for the support on the lower parallel. We came down, when was it, beginning of September, we got a 450 point bounce from that lower parallel, in the middle of nowhere to most people, but we expected that, or not expected that. We saw that as a likely area in which to see a bounce, and we saw that bounce. Okay, so what are we looking at? What have we been looking at the last month or so? We've been looking at price slowly trying to move up the sliding parallel. If you look really closely here, we've had one close on the lower parallel. We've never closed underneath it. If we start closing underneath it, if we move lower, if we come back up, and if the resistance moves down to this lower parallel here, I think I'd start to get a little bit worried about the Dow. Okay, I'm not saying it's immediately going to go to 10,000 or something, but what this would be a continuation of the stepping down in resistance that you can see from up here at the median line to this sliding parallel, then to this sliding parallel, and then we've had support along the lower parallel, and if that started becoming resistance again, the trend would be continuing. Okay, so what I hope I'm showing you there is that we're seeing a little bit of nuance, a little bit of something extra that we can take out of the charts. Great. Well, look, that is a quick spin through what I hope are some fairly interesting charts. And I hope that some of you that are more used to using lagging indicators like RSI or MACD, it might have been a little bit of an eye-opener as to how we can actually project forward and look to find likely areas of support and resistance. And that really is what Forex Analytics is all about, or certainly to me. I'm trying to produce clear and uncluttered charts which show high probability, low risk entries and exits. Because as I said, once you put a pattern into a chart, once you can understand that chart, in turn you can successfully trade the chart. So look, give me a couple of minutes just to talk to you about what we do. We have two daily services called Metals Analysis and Market Analysis, and basically as it says on the tin, metals looks at the precious metals market, not in dollars only, but also in other currencies as well. Whereas market analysis, which includes the full metal analysis service, it also covers indices, commodities, currencies, and as you've seen, also the non-dollar pairs. And we have daily video analysis for both services that I put out before the London Open, in which I try to highlight the moves and the key areas to watch through the next session and also in the coming days. There are also live chat rooms where you can post your charts or analysis, or where I can comment or update during the trading day. And we also have 2 live webinars every week with market analysis, where we can go through the key charts and focus in a little bit more detail on what we see happening. And I guess the idea is for them is to be, well, maybe slightly more educational in tone as well. I'm really running out of steam here, so I hope I've given you some idea of what it is I look to do. And in trying to simplify the charts and put the moves that we see into what I guess you call an understandable and therefore a tradable context. That's the most important thing, understandable and tradable. And while I think the methodology has got huge amount of benefit for both traders and investors, I appreciate that for many people who haven't really seen this way of working before, it's a little bit of a step out of the mainstream. Okay, but I really like a quote which says, if you want to have a better performance than the crowd, then you have to do things differently from the crowd. Anyway, listen, if you're intrigued and you want to find out a bit more, well, please go and have a visit to the website, www.Forex-Analytics.com, and you'll see there that I've got a special introductory offer through October, which is on the go at the moment. There are also some more videos on the site, so please have a look around. And if you have any further questions, you can always email me. I'm happy to answer where I can. The address is support@Forex-Analytics.com, and I will send out an email after this webinar's over, just with those addresses on it, and also with a recording of this, which I hope has worked. It sometimes doesn't, but I hope it has. Guys, I think there are a few questions coming in. I'm just going to take another slurp of water while I read through a couple of them. Bear with me just one tick. Okay, sorry, just got receiving that. Martin is saying, can I have a look at gold? Gold's been moving dramatically today. Martin, I don't want to be Oh, I know. Hang on. I don't want to be unfair to members, so I don't want to sort of give away kind of all the secrets, all the bits that they pay their membership for. Let me look at this one chart though. I was doing some mentoring earlier with somebody, and I was just looking at this chart. Yeah, it's. I think this would be quite a good one to look at. This is gold on a 240-minute chart. Okay, and again, what most people are going to do, they're going to look at this, they're going to say, we got a horizontal across here, let's draw that in. We've probably got another line, hang on a sec, we've got another line we can maybe draw, I don't know, across there. That kind of captures it. If we go to the top, we've got that. Do we like that? Not a huge amount. But again, with median line analysis, we can do an awful lot more. Again, just take the fork. Because we've got a down fork, we're going from a high to a low, up to a high again. I always like my down forks to be red. And that's what I'm seeing off that. If you look at this really sort of shows very, very precisely all the resistances. We've been following this resistance really closely. Actually, it's not exact because I know it's a bit tighter than that. Let me just get these points absolutely right. There you go. That one's slightly wrong. Makes all the difference to get the points absolutely right. Yeah, what I was saying was this is something which we've been following. We've had charts to the upside showing supports, but we've also been following and been very aware of the resistance that we've seen in gold and the way gold has been moving down, particularly in the week approaching non-farm payrolls. You can be sure that price is going to do something strange. Anyway, look, just looking at what we're seeing here, you can see we've got resistance at the upper parallel. We pushed just above it. That's what, about $4 above it or so, $3 above it. That's exact. That's exact. That's within a buck. That's exact. I mean, that's a couple of bucks. I can live with that. This is precise, and that's within a buck or so. So look, you've got on a 240-minute chart, a 4-hour chart, you've got some very, very, very exact supports and resistances in gold. Okay, the support. Where's the support? Yeah, good point. Where's the support in gold? Let's just draw a couple of this. Where we go across there. Look, support. We start dropping through that. It's resistance. Look. I don't want to be unfair to members. We have got supports. I am showing them those prices, so I don't want to show too much. Will you forgive me, Martin? It's $20 to join for a month. I mean, God, you know. I think one of these touches and moves could probably pay that several times over. Martin says, okay. He's not convinced. Okay. Sorry about that. Ender's asking, can I have a look at Norwegian Krona? I mentioned that. Yeah. Let me go and have a look at Krona. Oh, actually, just on my way there. This is Singapore dollar. I think actually this shows quite well what I was talking about price moving out of the fork. Again, I guess most people are looking at this as kind of a horizontal move, okay, and just beginning to see a little bit of a breakout now. I've been looking at this as a downfall for quite some time, with resistance at the upper parallel here, and well, you can see the resistances, but we're stepping up. Support at the lower parallel, support at the median line, turns into support at the quartile, and then here starts turning into support at the upper parallel. Okay, prior resistance here and here starts becoming support. So we're beginning to start thinking about a move to the upside. And all I did, let me just undo the delete there. All I did here was I drew in a fork from a low, high, low, and all of a sudden we're beginning to try and put this this move in a bit of context. Okay, you've got lower parallel support there, you've got lower parallel support there, and this is really helping us. This is framing why price is moving to the upside. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be putting another horizontal across there. We'll keep an eye on that, but I'm more interested in seeing if price can stay above this lower parallel, if price can move up. If it does, we're going to draw a sliding parallel, maybe off this high there, something like that, and keep a watch on that. Okay, sorry, that was just in en route. Ender wanted to go and have a look at Noki, Norwegian Krona. Yeah. Let me just get rid of the red fork for the moment. Okay, look, a lot of people have been looking at this again in terms of a head and shoulders, which I guess you can see up here, the shoulder, the head, the shoulder, and they've been putting in a neckline. Absolutely where, I don't really know. Yeah, I guess that's a reasonable thing to do. Okay, sure. What we've been doing is we've been actually watching this blue fork. We've been watching supports and resistances. We've been watching sliding parallel. We've been watching what's happening. And in particular, we've been looking at the lower parallel, the way that support there became resistance there and price moved to the downside. But what we've been doing is we've also, let me just undo the delete, as soon as we started seeing price start moving to the downside, we just drew in a fork. High, low, high again. And as soon as we start seeing a bit of resistance at the upper parallel, price starting to fall away, we're watching what happens. Price comes back up, upper parallel, upper parallel, upper parallel once more. You see? We can actually track the likely areas of support and resistance. And what I'm going to do now, there are two lines I'm going to be watching in terms of resistance. If this suddenly turns around, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be watching the blue lower parallel here. Prior support became resistance. I'm going to be watching that line. And I'm also obviously going to be watching the red upper parallel as well. And that sort of tells me how we go, how that is going. Yeah? Is that okay, Ender? Great. What am I using? I always get this question. I'm using Ensign 10 as the charting, and the software is eSignal. They're both US companies. Google them. They are, I'm afraid, or certainly Ensign is reasonably cheap. I think it's about $35-40 a month. eSignal, there are any number of programs and things they've got. It depends exactly what you need. But I think it's pretty good, and I don't get any rebates from them for saying that. Okay. Just got a query. Bull trader, you're asking me you're asking me about the oil 240. Can I draw an ABCD? Let me just go back to that. Where do you want the ABCD? I don't know. I'll draw one from the low. See if we got anything here. A, B, C is there. Not really seeing anything. I mean, maybe a little bit of action there, which would eventually tell us 52.11 is potentially the kind of level we'd look at. Not sure. Was that the one? Oh, hang on. September the 1st. September the 1st. Okay, so just on, you want this from here? Yeah? That to me is not a hugely valid ABCD. Reason being is the C is beneath the A. Okay, so I probably wouldn't draw that. And as you can see, it really hasn't done anything at all. Yeah? No problem. I hope it helps. Guys, I'm running out of steam here. I'm not a professional at this. I'm trying very hard. I'm an enthusiastic attempt at doing it, but I hope this has been interesting. Yeah. Look, there are a few more questions coming in, guys. If you don't mind, I really have to hold it there because my voice is just giving out. If you do want to have, if you've got any questions, give me a shout. Email me support@Forex-Analytics.com, or have a look around the site. As I say, we've got special offer on this month. I think you get quite a lot for the money. I mean, $20. If you don't like it, I'm not a fly-by-night either. So please give it a try. See how you feel about it. As I say, any questions, give me a shout. My name's Ben Drage. Support@Forex-Analytics.com. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. I hope this has been interesting. All the best.